In my opinion, is that the government hasn't used this buying power to promote black-owned enterprises. If I would change only one thing, I would say the government is the biggest buyer of everything. The one area it hasn't done very well is to use the proportionate buying power it has to advance black business. So of course, skills development has taken a knock, and I believe it's because private sector has mainly stood back and either blamed the inability to train skills, core skills, on the difficulties of the seaters, or they just don't focus on the critical skills enough. Maybe there's still a mentality, a mindset that people should get into the workplace ready to perform. I don't know any economy in the world that's competitive that relies on people who come in ready to perform. The ability to train and develop on the job would be the best. So those are the two things that I would say. As a black person, I would say maybe we don't believe in ourselves enough, but as I've mentioned already, the government has got great policies, and I commend the government for that. And somewhere in the state-owned enterprises, they have used their buying power a bit, but I still feel it's only a third or a quarter of what it could have done. But the inability of the private sector to embrace BEE as a business driver, in other words, the failure to understand that when South Africa is transformed economically, every business will have a larger pool of customers to sell their wares to. That failure is tragic, because if you get the private sector undermining the power it has, you will lose an opportunity to grow the pie. Everybody in the private sector has more or less, not everybody, but majority of white business leaders have seen BEE as an attempt to break the smaller pie they have into smaller chunks by accommodating black people. Whereas the more economically viable way of looking at it is growing the pie. Give you a simple example. DSTV or MultiChoice used to sell decoders to a select few when they only had what you can call premium. The day they learned to sell DSTV Compact, which sold to the bottom end of the pyramid, to township markets, they grew to what they are. ShopRite, how has ShopRite become the big business that it is? Because it can sell to the bulk of the people. Lastly, property. The reason you saw the property boom that we saw just before the 2008 was because the Group Areas Act went away. Black people were able to buy property in areas that were previously prohibited from buying, and therefore the white owners of fewer properties found themselves with more buyers. And more buyers meant the prices went up, but the demand also went up, and that's the urban sprawl that you've seen. Buying black is simply about saying if any black person expects BEE to work for him or her, then they should be willing to make their buying power work for another black person. Because in the end, black people form the majority, and each one of them, however poor you are, has the buying power of something. Right? So if black people understood, yes, it's okay to expect white business to transform, it's okay to expect the government to buy from black businesses or businesses to train black people, but why don't you just have a bit of self-reliance and self-confidence and the level of consciousness that being black means something? And therefore, when a black supplier of services approaches you, use your buying power to support them, because that way it's a lot easier, leading by example, to expect somebody else to support you when it's your turn. So that's what I mean. I think it has to be more coordinated. And again, no white business should feel it's marginalizing white-owned businesses. It's simply saying it's a lot easier for black people to exercise their power when they start with the individual buying power they have. And that way they will support black businesses themselves, and then black businesses will become worthy partners to those companies that might still not be transformed. I don't know, if we keep doing things the way we've been doing them, we are going nowhere. By the way, the other thing is that the economy must perform better, but it's a catch-22, it's a vicious circle. If the economy doesn't grow, there's not enough activity to accommodate more transformation. But if transformation doesn't happen, the economy won't do as well either. Of course, the future of BEE also means black people and South African corporations generally and entrepreneurs realizing that South Africa is part of a larger continent. So perhaps the larger part of BEE should not overlook expanding into the rest of the continent, because those are the countries that will have high economic growth, and maybe they will embrace black-owned businesses better than some of the South African companies.